Welcome back, everyone. It is June 16th. It's Father's Day. So any of the dads out there, happy Father's Day to you. Now, if you remember a couple weeks ago, I was showing you the truck, a little oopsie I made there. Put a dent in the bed with my tractor. Well, last week we were on vacation like I had talked about, and took my truck into the auto body shop. It's supposed to be all fixed up, come back from vacation, pick it up, everything's good to go. Well, you know how those things tend to go. They just got it in there on Thursday. They're hoping it's going to be done Monday or Tuesday. So I'm without a truck. What's crazy is we had a rental for our trip that we went to Rehoboth Beach, Delaware. So had that rental, brought it back. My plan was just to pick up a cheap compact car rental, use that for a week, and everything would be fine. Well, small town here, showed up, dropped my vehicle off that we had rented, and there was no cars on the lot to be rented. They said the best they could do was probably get one in within 2 days. So at that point, the auto body place was still saying, oh, it was going to be Friday when it's done. That's since moved to Monday or Tuesday. So basically, I've been wanting a third vehicle for quite a while. I had a Cobalt SS turbocharged quite a while ago, and I ended up having to sell that to pay for shingling our roof on our old house. Well, ever since then, I've wanted a third vehicle, just something small. I love my truck, but man, driving that thing around town is a pain. Feels like you're trying to turn a boat, trying to accelerate from a stop. Well, went and picked up this little car here. So it's a Honda Civic. It's a 2020. Bought it used. It's got almost 30,000 miles on it. But that got me about 7-8 grand under what it would be if I had bought a brand new one of the same model, same trim. So this is a Sport Touring. It's got like 185 horsepower or something. So nothing crazy. I think that old Cobalt, I bought that used, and someone had already put like a stage 1 on it or a stage 2. I don't know. All I know is that it had a little gauge that show you how much power it's putting out, and it would go up to about 320 horsepower when you're driving it. So that's not this, but this thing's still plenty quick for me. That's just a nice little third vehicle, run around town. And right now I'm using it to get out here, to get out and check out my property because, well, truck's still in the shop. So this is it. I'll go ahead and we'll take a quick look around. So this is it. I think as far as Honda Civics went in 2020, this has about the most options you could get. It wasn't necessarily my plan to set out looking for a loaded one, but this was in town, and checking out some prices on some lower trim ones, and this was only about $1,500 more for similar mileage. So I was like, well, I guess it makes sense to get the loaded one. So the one thing I like about the older ones, as compared to most newer vehicles, is the main screen here for these is still integrated. Most of the ones now, including my wife's RAV4, they'll have just a drop-in unit that goes here. Basically, it looks like someone dropped a fancy iPad. It almost looks to me like, oh man, I forgot, we need a screen for this car, don't we? And then they just snap one up on top and call it good. So I do like having it down here. Like it being integrated like that. It does have the CVT. I was looking at some new ones as well. Those ones would be manual. I was looking for a manual. But what is nice is now if my wife needs to drive this, she can drive it as well. She tried to drive my old car a couple times with the manual, and like anyone who starts out, she had quite a bit of trouble and decided it was more trouble than it was worth. But yeah, so we got leather, we got heated seats in the front and back, got the kids' car seats back there ready to go. Yeah, so that's the car. Hope to run it till the wheels fall off. 150,000 miles. The plan is even, my oldest daughter is 9 now, so the hope is this thing will still be around in 7-8 years. We can hand it off to her, and we'll have a third vehicle for her to be able to drive around. So my first task of the day, I have this camera here. I hit it with my tractor. seems to be the theme of my life here lately, but I hit it with my tractor, and it still works, but the 1/4-20 mount in it got all jacked up. So I put it in this heat shrink wrap because the door also got broken on it, so it wouldn't shut. Heat shrink wrapped it, and I just have it kind of sitting here now. Well, I bought a refurbished Spypoint Micro to take its place, so I'm gonna go ahead and stick that on here, and then I'll be able to actually aim it where I want. So one of the questions I see most often about these cameras is, if I have an external like this here, and I'm running solar, running a battery pack, external battery pack, can I still put batteries in it? The answer is yes. So this actually has a lit 10 inside. So I'm gonna go ahead and plug in the 12 volt and have the lit 10 as backup. So in your settings, go in, make sure you set it for lit 10, plug the 12 volt in, it'll still function, everything will work like expected. And if that external dies, which I don't anticipate that happening here, this thing's been running for about 2.5 years without any issue at all. But if it does, it'll default back over to that lit 10 and keep continuing to work. So you can run, you could also run AA batteries, you could run a lit 22 and a flex, you could run a set of alkaline AAs, lithium AAs, whatever you want as backup. The Spypoint cameras, all of them, they will use external until the external gets about 9 volts, and then they will switch over to whatever's internal, whether that be AAs or a lit battery pack. So task number 2, we have a Force S Pro 2.0. This is a solar non-cellular camera, so we're gonna go ahead and pull the SD card, see what we have on here. So it looks like last time I came in here, I swapped out the SD card, and I put one in where the little slide was in the locked position, so the camera did not take any photos. Now I am lucky because I do have a Flex M here, and it has a lit 22 in it. It's been running, it's been taking photos. So I know everything that went through here. At least I expect pretty much everything would be about the same. But still, little unfortunate, but not the end of the world. So another question I see asked all the time by folks that are running standard trail cameras is, how do you check your SD cards? I would highly discourage the use of a digital camera or any of the little palm devices, little handheld devices that are made to read SD cards. The reason is they use really cheap hardware and really cheap software. And what tends to happen is when you're going in there and looking at files, they can corrupt those files and the storage segments where those files are at. So I could take a whole episode to explain how all this works, but the basics of it are, when you delete a file on an SD card, you're not actually getting rid of all of the bits of information that are in there. The SD card is just saying, I'm gonna allow myself to save to that little storage area again in the future. So you haven't deleted anything, it's just saying you're allowed to overwrite it in the future. And so what I use is a Microsoft Surface Pro, I believe is the model. Just a little handheld tablet, couple $100. It runs standard Windows, so it's a good piece of hardware. It's got good software in it, so you can even do a full format of your SD card. When you're reading files and you're deleting them, you know it's being done correctly. So that's what I've been using. I wrote a little piece of software that when I stick an SD card in, I give that card a name, and I hit go, and it pulls all the files over into a folder. So I recommend you don't go cheap. Don't buy the $50 Palm, the little handheld card reader. Get something that's fairly decent, and you won't have nearly the amount of problems with your SD cards, unless of course you leave them locked like I just did. So there's been some questions on the Flex M. It basically comes down to, I had some of the original Flex cameras. They didn't do very well with batteries, you know, or I have a G36, I run a lit 22 and it does okay with batteries, but does the Flex M do better? So this one is a Flex M. I have a lit 22 in there. It's taken about 350 photos. It's done a firmware update and it's still sitting at 91% battery. So compared to my G36, I think it's a bit of a step up. Compared to the original Flex, it is just night and day difference how much better it is on the battery. It's not quite as efficient as the lit 10 in a micro. That seems to be your best option if you're looking to throw a lithium battery pack inside of a camera, maybe stick it out on public property for a really long time and not have to visit it. The micro is still your best bet. The downside of that, and I think where the battery savings probably come from, is the fact that the thumbnail that it sends back, the image quality isn't that great. Where the Flex M here, I haven't noticed any difference from the Flex M compared to my G36 or my regular Flex. So this is my second setup with the new Flex M, and got one of my homemade solar packs there. So that is a 10-watt solar panel, and it'll have 3 LG 18650 lithium cells inside of it. So it's running 3 of those, 10-watt panel, and everywhere I've put these things where, you know, it's not completely in the shade, they keep up completely. So they seem to be the ones that I built on par with the ones you can buy from Spypoint and Vosker, Herd 360. So I've been pretty happy with those. It saved me probably 10-15 bucks each. So now, is it worth the time and energy I put into building them? I don't know. I like to do stuff myself, so I think it is. Now, if I was going by, you know, hourly rate, does it make sense? Probably not. Probably makes more sense to just buy them. But I like exploring, like building things, so built quite a few of these things, probably up in the range of about 60 or 70 of them. So I want to show you what this camera is looking over. So this is an area of the property that, you know, I haven't really done much with it. So the main reason I haven't done much is because we're really close to this road back here. And I don't want to draw the animals in, the deer, into a food plot where, you know, 50 yards away, if they go up the steep hill over there, they end up on a major road. But what I do think I'll do, but what I've done so far is came in here and brush hogged it all down twice, pulled out some small trees that were starting to grow and pricker bushes, cleaned it all up. What I plan to do is come in here, spray it all down, kill everything off, and then probably plant clover. So the hope with clover is the deer will come in here, eat it, give them a food supply, and also being thick in this area should help with some fawns, as long as they don't run up to that road. But give them a food draw that, as my brassicas come in back there, that will probably take over. I think they'll be more interested in hitting that than the clover around here. But yeah, so we'll see how that goes. If we start seeing lots of animals getting hit on the main road there, I'll just let everything grow back up so that there's not a food source. So if you see this back here and you're wondering what it is, this is the catchment. This originally was going to be a development, a health facility, an old folks home. It was going to go all up in here, and then this was going to catch all the runoff. So everything comes down off the hill, gets caught down in here. So up on top here, turn around and show you. Right up on top, there's a road that circles all the way around here, and there is water and sewage that runs underneath it. So what's nice about this area is basically if I ever want to put in a building, or I ever want to sell to someone that wants to, they'll be able to hook up to city water, city sewage. Electric is already right there, so makes it a nice little area. Gives me options for the future. So love options. Never know what you're gonna do, never know where you're gonna be in a few years. You know, I don't tend to plan things out for 10 years. I tend to try to leave as many options open as I can. and then capitalize on change, basically. Next task is to throw in another camera here. So we have this trail back here, lets in, comes down, and show you here, heads down this trail towards where the food plot is, and seems like quite a few of the deer come down this way off the top of the hill. There's also a trail back this way that cuts down. I have a camera on the top of that, but it seems like these deer like to use this. I cut this trail in here last year, and seems like they took right to it, so want to get a camera on it. So while I'm waiting for that to start up, the one thing I like about the LM2 compared to the regular Link is that if you put a lit 10 in here and you haven't changed it in the settings and restarted it multiple times, it'll still start up. It'll give you the low battery warning, but it'll start up and run. Then it'll get your settings you sent it where you tell it, oh, it's got a lit 10 in it. So if you have a micro, on the other hand, and you put a lit 10 in there, what you have to do is, before you do that, leave the AAs in, set it in the settings to a lit 10, power the camera on, let it connect to the server. Once it does that, turn it off. Leaving those in, do it one more time, a second time. So once that second time has happened and it's connected to the server, it'll pick up those settings, understand it's supposed to have a lit 10, then you can put the lit 10 in there, start it up, everything will be good to go. What the LM2 though, it's nice, it will show you that low battery flash setting where it just flashes red 3 or 4 times, and then it'll start up like normal. Then it'll pick up the settings for the lit 10 that you set in the app. It'll connect to the server and pick those up. So one nice thing about LM2 over a Link Micro. So I was just up in there, had a camera, had some branches around it. They've been blowing in the wind, causing it to misfire. And I started pulling those off. Noticed a grapevine going up it, so figured I'd pull that off while I was still small. And about 5 seconds later, I was like, wait a minute, this doesn't look like a grapevine. Leaves are 3, so pretty sure it was poison ivy. So I'm about to head home, try to scrub up, and hopefully don't break out in a rash. Never had poison ivy before. I don't know if I've just been lucky or if I'm one of the 15% of the people that aren't allergic to it, but guess we'll find out tonight.